project and for stepping in to lead this module for us. Trevor is a certified Google trainer and he was managing technologies in the university in Canada. Now, being retired, we are lucky to have him with us here on the island of Madeira. And Trevor was very kind to mentor us, the Association Madeira Island, teaching us with advanced technologies that are available for free or for a very attractive pricing with Google and other technologies as well. And we have progressed ever since so much. And we believe that this is something that organizations working with important topics really need to know, really need to be able to use. And this is why we introduced Trevor to give this knowledge further to you. So without further ado, Trevor, please, the floor is yours. We're here to support with any technical and other things, but yeah, so.
Excellent. All right, thanks very much. Welcome, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, for people that came in, there's a link in the chat. And if you want to take that and paste it into a browser window, you can have it translate into whatever language you want as far as text goes. So it's pretty good. It's a tool provided by Microsoft Translator. We'll talk a bit more about that later. But it's a tool that I've been using go to conferences and stuff that I don't speak any Portuguese, and it's really been helpful for me to attend these conferences. So the link is in there, and we'll look into that. If you decide to use the tool, here's the best way to lay it out. Put the Zoom window on one side, put your translation browser on the other side, or you can use your mobile device by downloading Microsoft Translator. And then that way you can still see what's going on while following along with the words. So yes, this is Supercharger Nonprofit for Google and Digital Productivity Tools. This is the link I'm going to send you right now into the chat. And it is basically to this slide deck. Hit enter and let's get it going. Yep. And in there's a number of different links and stuff that'll give you more information. As Anastasia mentioned, my name is Trevor Beck. I'm a former Google Apps for Certified trainer and basically retired now, but my passion is still working with nonprofits. There's my website, trevorbeck.ca, as well as the YouTube channel that I have. I have lots of great YouTube videos there on technology, especially taking advantage of spreadsheets and forms and stuff like that, both in Microsoft and in the Google side of things. So highly recommend. There's some really cool stuff in there. Take a few minutes to go through and see what's in there. So some quick housekeeping tools. Not sure what your layout is like, but if you want, in the top right-hand corner, there is a view button. You can change the layout. So if you just want me and not other people and stuff, you can go ahead and do that. I kind of look at this like a classroom session. So if you have a question, I don't mind if you come off mute and ask the question. But when you're done, please keep yourself muted. It's just nothing more distracting than hearing dogs and cars and sirens and stuff. So after this session is over, there is the Padlet. I assume you guys already know how this works, but the Padlet is a space for you to go and ask questions about my session. And when this is done, somewhere in here, there will be my name and you can put the questions in there. What I also recommend you do, if you haven't done it yet, is turn on notifications. This way that as other people are posting questions and stuff, you can learn from their questions and the answers that all of us that are presenting can provide. Let me just close that window and get us back. Couple additional tools that I will recommend for you. One is called ScreenPal Recorder. Basically, it's a free app that you can use on your desktop device or your mobile device that gives you screen recording capabilities. It also provides you with a place to host your videos. You get unlimited amount of videos that are 15 minutes or less. So when you're trying to ask a question, sometimes going into all the details, doing typey doesn't work as well. So do a screen grab, upload that or upload the link and say, hey, here's the problem I'm having. Makes it a lot easier for those of us that are trying to work with you to troubleshoot. The session that we're doing is based on 2 sessions that I do. Usually they're about an hour each. So what I've done is I've got links here for you to go to copies of the original full-length videos and resources. So if you want to see all the information about Google nonprofits, if you want to see all the tools that I cover in digital productivity that we won't be covering today, that's probably your best bet. So here's the agenda. We're going to start off with Google for nonprofits. Then we're going to look at some of the digital tools. Part of that, we're going to look at best practice, the things that a lot of people don't do that really will help you save time and make things a lot easier for yourself. We spend a lot of time in our browser, but do you really know some of the cool tricks that can make you a more powerful user? Well, you will by the time we're done today. We'll look at some other services, and then we'll briefly chat about AI apps. AI is changing by the minute. It is unbelievable, the stuff that when I developed this session 6 months ago, how much has changed in it. And trying to keep up with it is really difficult. But there are a couple of tools that we'll try and get to and talk about that'll really make a great contribution to getting yourself efficient. I get excited about technology. So if I start going too fast, please in the chat, put down slow down. Okay. I will try and control things, but hey, it's technology. It's cool stuff. So let's get started with nonprofits. Google for Nonprofits is a program that they've developed that provides organizations that are qualifying with specific advantage tools. So yes, you get access to, with your personal Gmail account, to Google Workspace, which is your Google Apps. You get access to ad grants and maps and YouTube. But as a nonprofit organization using the login there, you get better access to it. One thing I want to point out, we're not going to talk about it, but definitely go check it out. With Google Ad Grants, if you qualify, you get 10,000 American dollars per month in advertising. Okay, that's huge. And it's really important that if you decide to go down this path, that you spend some money or some time ensuring you take advantage of these tools. Because Google is fine saying, hey, yeah, you can have AdWords. And AdWords being just the text part when people do searches, and off the side or up the top, you'll see the little pieces of text. They'll give you that for free, but they want you to actually make use of it, not just sign up and let it die. So really recommend, if you just go to google.com/nonprofits, you'll find more information about all these different services and what extras you get out of it that go beyond your personal Gmail account. Today, we're going to focus on Google Workspace. This is the thing that we all tend to do on a day-to-day basis. And there are some awesome advantages that you need to take advantage of. So working with nonprofits, if you're like me, you know someone that is still working in the dark ages where they have to have files stored on their computer. And I've worked with guys where I've walked in and I said, where are your files? Oh, it's on my computer, which is underneath the desk. No lie, this guy had 8 years worth of dust on his fan, like his fan was ready to die. So as we talk with these people, we need to explain to them, look, that worked great, 15 years ago, but it's time to, come into the light, come and start taking advantage of the online services. When you're using that drive down there underneath the desk, it can get stolen, your files can get corrupted, it can get water or fire damage. A number of times I ask, well, where's your backups? And they go, well, my backup's in this drive, which is sitting on top of the same computer, which then can also be stolen and have fire and water damage. And the biggest challenge is multiple copies. Because they love their files, they send out copies to like 15 people. There's now 15 different versions of those files walking around. Most of you probably are very comfortable in the land of cloud computing and understand that there's only one file we need to work with. And that's the file that is stored on the cloud. So we have to convince them we need to switch. I'm just going to do a quick check and see how we're doing for questions. No, nothing good. So let's tell them why we need to switch. And these are also reasons why you could also switch from that personal Gmail account to the Google for Nonprofits. This is a big one. When used properly, all the files are owned by the organization, regardless who created them. Okay, so let me explain what that means. Typically, what will happen is you will go and you will use your personal Gmail account and you will create a folder and you'll say, hey, everybody, put the files in here for my project that you're working on with me. When you're using a personal Gmail account, those files are owned by whoever created them. So even though this is my folder that you see right here, the person that uploaded them is the owner, which means that person can delete them at any time. And I've seen people where they've done this, someone's left, so they said, I don't need this anymore, so I deleted all the files. And that disappears for everyone because ultimately it is still their files. One of the advantages of Google for Nonprofits or any of the paid versions of Google is you get access to a tool called Shared Drives. Shared Drives is a special folder that basically says, if you put a file in there, we own it. The organization owns it. And here's what you would look. You'll notice there is no ownership in here, like we had in the last slide. This is basically owned by the organization, which means that I can decide who gets access to them, who gets rid of it. And when I say I mean as a rep of the organization. Access to the documents is controlled by the organization. So this means that documents as well as email accounts can quickly and easily be reassigned as new users come in. This is great if you have a board, which I'm sure a lot of you will work with. So you've got the president, the vice president, whatever. The nonprofits that I've worked with, they're usually like a 2-year term and then they switch out and stuff. Most of the time, what someone does is the president will go to the new president and say, hey, here's the password. So now you have 2 people who've got access to those documents. And what if the old president goes, you know what, I'm going to take all these files and delete them because I don't like what happened. You've lost all that stuff. So when you start using these nonprofit tools, these tools available to nonprofits, you can lock out the first person, reset the password, send it off to the new person very easily. And as soon as that new person logs in, bang, they have access to the email, they have access to the drive, they have access to all the different stuff that they should have access to. Keeping in mind, the biggest important thing about all of this is sharing passwords is not a good security process or security practice. Online collaboration, well, you guys are probably doing a lot of this already, but there's nothing cooler than having a document where 2, 3, 5 of you are working on the document at the same time as you see stuff flying all over the screen. You can actually have up to 250 people. Think of that, 250 people working on one file at the same time. That is great. I've been in a conference where we've had like 100 people working on a document, adding stuff, formatting the whole thing. It's wild. Another advantage, though, is that you also get an increase in hard drive space for your user. Your free account gives you 15 gigs on your drive. Your Google account with nonprofits gives you 30 gigabytes of hard drive space. Powerful search, Google Drive basically can go through and just quickly search stuff, and once you know some of the tricks, really easy to find files. So you don't have to spend a lot of time organizing files and folder structures. You just use the search function. You get to communicate more efficiently with the tools available to you. You can stay in touch with your volunteers, with your supporters, your community. You can create websites, email distribution lists, and the best part, one-on-one video calls without a 1-hour time limit. I believe that the time limit that you can run a Google Meet video call is 48 hours. I don't recommend a 48-hour meeting, but you could if you wanted to. And lastly, the enterprise level security. If Google finds something that's out there that needs to be addressed, they address it, they patch it on the back end. You don't see any of that. It's not like your computer has to update patches like on Windows or Mac. It's all done in the background and it's up to date for everyone. So I'm just going to give you a quick example of one of the ways that I organize files when I work with a board of directors. So the first thing to start off with is, actually, let me just open up this link here. Can everyone see that? I'm assuming, okay, great. I had to switch the screen so I could see you nodding your heads. Thank you. But so here's the board of directors. So the first thing that happens is that we create a Google group and we put all the members of the board of directors in there. That Google group becomes our security group. We basically say, hey, whoever's in this group gets access to these files and stuff. Nobody else does. So we start with that. We then create a website. There is nothing worse than as someone who's organizing and being responsible for the information for board meetings to every month or so get emails and phone calls. Where's the agenda for the next meeting? When is the next meeting? Where are the minutes from last week? Hey, Bob was going to talk about getting a musician to come in. He talked about that 2 years ago. Can you find that stuff for me? There's no reason for that when we start building these kind of websites where all the tools are already available. So here's the board of directors website. It's an internal website only available to those people. And in that is going to be all the links that we're going to make available to all these people. So let's look at that first thing. When's the next meeting? Well, we have a Google Calendar that we've created that has all the meetings coming up that they can subscribe to, so it shows up in their calendars. Or if they come here, they can get the same information. And I'm going to click on more details here. And here we're going to find, well, there's the link, the video link. Well, that's the other thing always people ask, where's the video link? There it is there. There's a physical location when I created this years ago. There's information about it. And there, look at this. There's my agenda and there's my board of directors minutes from last month, because I want to read that at this point in time. All of that's available to them. So we've answered all the questions of where, when, and what. Close that one. Creating new documents, I mean, as I mentioned before, they all get created, they get stored, they belong to the PandaFox organization. There's all our different folders and stuff. They don't have to go to Google Drive. This is actually just a window into Google Drive. So there's our meeting agendas, policies, our projects. I'm going to just open this one up. And it basically, as I mentioned, it's just a window. So it opens up into Google Drive. There's those same two files that we just saw that was in the calendar, the agenda and the minutes. So there's lots of easy ways for them to come and find that information in one location. And finally, Google Groups, which to me is the unsung hero of the services that Google provides. Because as I mentioned, it's basically a mail listserv or a mail distribution list. In that, you put in all the people. The nice thing about it is because we put this group together, you can email them by emailing board@pandafox.com. So there's that group of let's say it's 5 people, just because I have that many fingers on a hand. And so if I send a message to the board, it automatically goes there. I don't have to maintain on my own computer my group for those board members. And every other individual doesn't have to maintain their own personal group listing. Just one place, it's maintained by whoever the admin is. People come, people go, that gets maintained. I still send all them emails to board@pandafox. What happens is the email gets sent to the board. It goes to Google. Google says, oh, there's 5 people. I'll email it out to them. And I'll keep a copy of that message. Then someone replies back, goes back to Google. Google says, great, here's a reply. I'll send it out to all the members of it, and I'll add it and keep a copy of it. So as an administrator or admin function, secretary, whatever you want to call it, I don't have to keep copies of all the emails that are flying around. Google's already done that. The best part is, and I'm just going to open this group up here in another window. So here's our conversations. I can see there was a conversation about best meals. Trevor posted something, then Fred replied. But imagine this, I can go into here and I can search. So 2 years ago or 5 years ago, someone talked about getting a bus. So who was that? Because maybe we want to get another bus. There's a bus, there's a bingo fundraiser, and who said, oh, Trevor said he's got the bus covered. So I can go back in time anytime I want, get that information and search for it. All of this becomes tied together in one location under that website. So that's just one way that we can make use of these tools and keep control of everything, and also make it more advantageous to us as we move along on our board of directors. I just got a couple more slides and then I'll just stop for questions. Let me just double check real quick. Volunteer sign up. So what are the steps? Well, go to Google for nonprofits. The steps are laid out there fairly easy, but they are basically check eligibility. You have to be a qualified nonprofit, and qualified means you're recognized by some kind of government entity. So most nonprofits have a nonprofit number or something like that, or a certificate that they're given. You then go and apply. And by application, you're also uploading that certificate to the organization that's going to be looking through it. They're going to be doing their due diligence to see if you are actually a nonprofit or if you're just calling yourself one. Because again, you have to be certified. Once that verification process goes through and you're given the green light, they will send you in from a code. You then go into Google, enter the code, and Google says, yep, that checks out for us. Turn on whatever services you want. And then that takes us back to Google for Workplace, Google AdWords, that kind of thing. So it's not a hard process. It's just make sure you've got all your stuff together and then your eligibility. So that's Google for Nonprofits. So I'm just going to quickly check the chat out here and see some comments here. I'm not sure. The scenario, the teacher way, the situation. So I'm going to read it to myself before I read it out loud. Okay, so Anastasia said, sorry, not Anastasia. Yeah, Anastasia said that they've run into a situation where somebody in the group had a beef and then tried to go in and do a little sabotage. Is that correct? So, and that, I mean, that happens. Or else, often what I find it's accidental, right? I mean, there was a president that came in, he left and he went, oh, I don't need these files, and he deleted them all. Thankfully, I was able to help the group and we managed to get them back. And quite often that's mostly what it comes down to, is people accidentally not knowing what they're doing, delete the files. So having ownership, you get to control whether that person has the ability to delete files. And that's another educational thing, is quite often people go, oh yeah, give everyone full edit access, let them have everything. When you do that in the personal Gmail account, you're giving them the ability to delete files too. So you have to really be careful. Anna says you've got stuff going with nonprofits, but you require some time and tutorials. Time's always fun. There is stuff available. If you search the Google for nonprofit resources, there are a bunch of links. And if you look at my other full nonprofit presentation in the slides, there's some links on some tutorials there. If you want, reach out. I mean, I'm more than happy to work with people, or I can do a session for a number of nonprofits and we can talk about how to set these things up and best practices there. And that's it. Okay, no other questions on Google for nonprofits? All right, everyone take a breath.
Trevor, if I may ask, because for several organizations, I'm sure this notion of Google for Nonprofit is a new thing. So can you please recap what is the advantage, the main points of what is the advantage of having this Google for Nonprofit set up for you, for the organization? This is question number one. And then let's go bit by bit.
Okay, so for me, I'm just going to go back here for a quick second. So Google for Nonprofits gives you the access to these tools, as we mentioned before. So Google Workspace with extra features. Google Ad Grants is the money component that we talked about, where you get that $10,000 in ad stuff. And then Google Maps and YouTube, there are some different features depending on what country you're in. And every country has different levels of access. For me, the $10,000 a month in free advertising, who doesn't want that? Who can't use that somehow? Promote your organization, promote an upcoming special event. You can promote 3 things. It doesn't matter, as long as they total $10,000. So, and I always say to people, like, either commit to having someone that this is their job, or pay someone to take advantage of that $10,000. It might cost you $1,000, let's say. But if that person goes and says, here's what you need to do every month to make sure you spend $10,000, well, $1,000 investment for $120,000 a year, nothing, right? So, and I've heard stories too, years ago, where if you actually spent the $10,000 every month, I spoke to some Google people and they say, yeah, if you spend $10,000 a month, we'll up it. Like, you know, it doesn't cost them any actual cash. We'll give you extra stuff, not a problem. Let me finish answering the question, Bahidir, and then I'll get into the other stuff. For me, the biggest thing is this whole part of ownership of files, right? Because if you have a group of people working on your policies, working on your contact lists, your supporters, any of that information that you need day to day, and it disappears because someone left the group, that can affect your nonprofit for years, right? Because I mean, if you've gone there and you've got a mailing list and all of a sudden it's disappeared, oh my gosh, how do you rebuild that? So for me, that's a big thing. Google for Nonprofits costs you nothing. It's a little work, but it costs you nothing, and the advantages are just huge. And of course, if you're doing a lot of video call, there's nothing more annoying than the 45-minute mark or the 50-minute mark. You get the notice saying, oh, your meeting's going to end. And the meeting ends, and then everyone has to go and rejoin the meeting. Why go through that hassle? But to me, it's about the files are yours. That's probably the most important thing that I can say. Does that answer?
Yes, it does. We also enjoy the large storage capacities. That is very important for us, which is for our digital work, especially. But yes, its own advantages. We feel more professional. We feel more secure. All this basically, we feel that we are all owners of the files, and everything is very much organized in one space, professional emails, and so on. My second question is. So for us, the process was not so hard because we had you on our side, right? We did apply for receiving that. We did provide the documents that show that we are an established nonprofit organization, and then we received those codes that certify that yes, so you're a nonprofit, and then we got that label, let's say, from Google. But then it takes a little bit of technical work, right? And how the organizations that are new to this, how can they go through this process? Is it too hard? Are there any tutorials? Is a person that doesn't really have any technical knowledge, can they proceed with this?
Okay, so the technical knowledge that Anastasia is talking about is to get your Google for Workspace tied into your email account. So in her case, and which is how it usually starts, you've got a website, you've got email access, and you've got your email at, Anastasia@mymadeira.com. You already have a technical people. Those are the ones that are your host providers, quite frankly. And so the host providers can help you out with this. I mean, that's part of their job. Will they charge you for it? I don't know. So I've had different host providers that I've worked with. Some will do it for free because it just takes them a couple of minutes. Some of it might charge you something. But in the end, what happens is instead of your email going to some kind of client that doesn't look like Gmail, and now all of a sudden it is, that's a huge thing. So most of you as nonprofits have probably already have a website. You have a host provider, you have technical people already at your disposal. That's part of their job. In Anastasia's case, there was somebody that works in her department that looks after and doing a little bit more hands-on stuff, is a little more technical. But so, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, if you already have, like, even for me, I am not a back-end guy at all. But if I already have access to the domain, so to say, I can probably walk myself through it. Google's made some really big changes. But like I said, you always have the host provider, that's their job.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We had a question from gentleman Bahadir. And there is another question in the chat.
I just wanted to ask, mine is a very small detailed question. Well, I'm not so successful yet, but we have established the nonprofit Google account in Google for our association. However, the only thing was written out there is our info@castrocale.org. Can I reach the same account from other emails, or do I have to only use that email? I was just going to ask that very small thing.
Okay, so typically what would happen, and your info at your domain is hosted with the host provider, correct? So what happens is when you make this technical changeover, you're basically saying to Google, hey, any emails that normally would go to that other server and that other email thing, you take over it. So it's the same thing as what Anastasia had. She had an info ad as well. So what happens is, as you go through that process, because it takes, what they have to do is put that information out to the internet, to all the domain servers and stuff. Sometimes it takes an hour or two to make the switch over. They often will say it takes 48 hours. I've never had it take 48 hours. It's pretty instantaneous. But what happens now is then, instead of going to that other location to get your email, you would go to mail at, as an example, well, actually you just log into gmail.com, but you would log in with info at as the domain name, and your email is suddenly there. Okay, you might have to send and import all the old email messages. So if you've got a lot, there's a couple of tricks to doing that. There is some software that Google has that says, hey, well, before we do all this, we'll import everything and bring it over. But if nothing else, if you're just starting fresh and new, you go ahead, bang, you've got info at now into your domain. The best part of all of this, though, is that you can create multiple email accounts. So the first thing we did with Anastasia's group is everyone's now got an account. Anastasia at mymadeira.com and Trevor at mymadeira.com and all the different people. Or if you're working with the board, I recommend doing positions. President at yourorganization.com, vice president. And those, you create those accounts. I mean, obviously it's not something that's super easy to do. It takes a little tech, but quite frankly, it's not hard. There's lots of training materials. There's even a Google course that you can take for free that shows you how to go through and take advantage of all this stuff. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, all you're doing is the email. We'll add their email account, or I'm resetting the password of somebody's account because we have a new president. So I'm going to reset the password, lock out the old president, send the information to the new president, and Bob's your uncle.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, let me just take a quick look. What is a tool within Google Earth that is less used but very useful beside the obvious ones? For me, seriously, it's Google Groups. I think it is so powerful, but people don't understand how to use it for sharing or for accessing files. So I have a calendar, I have shared files, I have Google Chat, I have all the website. So there's 4 items. I just point to the group. I don't have to individually put people's names in here. I just maintain in one location, and that feeds all that. So that's, for me, is probably the most powerful. Okay, I don't want to spend any more time because we got lots to cover. But again, if you've got other questions, please put them in the Padlet, right? Because that's what we're here for. Subscribe to the Padlet so that you guys will get notifications as people are posting probably the same questions that you have. And, if need be, I don't mind organizing a video call and we'll bring 10 people on and we sit there and chat about the challenges and stuff. That's what mentoring's about, right? Okay, well, let's move on then. Oh, okay. I'm just going to close this window for a second. And all right. So again, full-length presentations, Google for nonprofits. Now we're going to look at the digital productivity tools and techniques for modern. Am I going too fast or am I going okay? Can someone give me thumbs up or too fast? Okay. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So this is where I might speed up because I really get excited about this stuff. What I want to start off with this link here is that, again, there's my website. There is a video that I've done 6 months ago of all this stuff. So we're not going to do everything because I'm cognizant of how much time I have. So I'm going to have to skip some stuff. But in the video, I probably have covered it. So I would recommend taking a look at that. If you go to the video, I've even broken it down by chapters and stuff. So you could just jump right to that piece. Keep in mind that when you're watching a YouTube video, you can change the speed. So if I'm talking too fast in the video, you can slow me down, and you can translate the subtitles. So where you turn the subtitles on, you can actually translate it. And we might look at that a little bit later. So I want to talk about best practices first, because these are the things that we don't think of a lot of. First of all, this is a pet peeve more than a best practice. It is one space after a period when word processing. One space. 2 spaces is held over from the days of typing on a typewriter. And if you can look it up on ChatGPT or wherever else, it'll tell you that. Microsoft is now, even with the spell check, will also say, hey, no, 1 space is all you need. As you're working with these different nonprofits, you may need to sign up for Google or Microsoft in order to access their files, okay? You do not have to create a brand new email account, okay? Let me say that again. You don't need to get a new email account. So for example, let's say I'm a Microsoft guy. I'm working with a nonprofit and they say, hey, we have Google files here, but you need to create a Google account. Well, a Google account just means you want a membership that gets into the meeting, okay? So when you go and look at these things, so up here, it says, when I go to create a new Google account, it says, do you want to create a new Gmail address or do you want to use your existing email address? The other way around, if I have a Google account and I'm being asked to look in and share within Microsoft land, I can put in my existing email account or I can create a brand new account. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I got too many places to go look for emails. This is so confusing. I don't know what to do. No, no, no. Just go in, use your existing email and go and sign up. Now, what you're doing though, is you're creating an account. So if I have a Gmail account, creating a second Gmail account doesn't make sense. You're going to add that person in with their existing Google account. Microsoft, again, you can do either way. So when you do that, you're basically staying with the email client or the email source that you're used to. You don't have to look at anything different. You get access to all the tools in the other domain, Microsoft, Google. You get all the access to all the tools except email because you're already covered with email. Okay. That is a huge thing for people because you'll hear that a lot. I don't want to join this because I don't want to create another account and look for emails. Well, guess what? You don't have to. Avoid sending emails just to say thanks. Oh, hate this. So I worked at a university. I was the tech guy. I got emails all the time. They would ask me of something. I would tell them, show them, do something for them. And then I would get an email saying thanks. I would have 30 to 100 emails a day just saying thanks. The secret, say thanks in the initial request. So for example, over here, whoops, switch windows. So I get this email that I'm sending out to Anastasia. So I say, hey, Anastasia, can you make sure the tables and chairs are set up before the session? In advance, thanks. That's part of the initial request. So when she sends the message back saying, yep, Trevor, I got it all done, I don't have to say thank you. Reduced my intake, reduced her email, et cetera, et cetera. And while we're talking about emails, let's talk about subject lines. Subject lines, make them useful. So many times I would get email subject lines that said, Google. Whoa, what does that mean? Can you give me some help? Because even to read email, I'm going to kind of look at the subject lines to decide, am I going to read that right now or read it later this afternoon when I have more time? So make sure that your subject lines speak and say and communicate what it is you're trying to do without trying to, overwhelm them too much, but just something short to give them an idea. Because remember, as I'm looking at these emails, it's going to decide whether or not I accept different things. And I'll talk about that in 2 seconds here. The other thing is that informative title not only applies to emails, but to calendar events, especially calendar events. Because when I get that calendar request, Trevor, you've been invited to join Google. What does that mean? I don't know. So I will say no. Whereas if I have a detailed piece, I can make a choice. So here's an example of how I do my calendar invitations. Troubleshoot Google Meets with camera. Not just Google, here's exactly what I want to accomplish in this meeting. And as part of the meeting event, I'm going to put down what it is I need help with. And I also put in a mini agenda. If nothing else, here are the points that I want to cover in this meeting. So then when someone sends something like this to me, I can go, oh, okay, this is important because we're doing meetings every day. They obviously need some camera help. I can look through this and go, okay, I need to be prepared. I'm going to go and do some research ahead of time because maybe they got a new computer and there's some challenges. I can do some research ahead of time and I come prepared. As opposed to Google, now you're forcing me to go back after our meeting, do some research that I could have done earlier and bring it back. So communication I find is so lacking in the details with agendas, with events, calendar events and emails. Use shared documents to gather input. Ooh, let's send an email out to 50 people saying, what do you think we should do on Thursday? How do you think we should do this? And now I have 50 emails coming back. Half the time, some of them are already been captured and duplicated. Well, it'd make more sense to just use a Google Doc. So here's an example, and I use this when I'm training. Hey, I'll send this out to 100 people. Everyone come in, put your suggestions of what we should have for meals or what you'd like to see for meals for our retreat. And people can start listing all this stuff here. I don't have to wait for 100 emails to come in and then copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. It's all being added here. One location, everyone works on it. The best part is that because everyone's working on it together, they see what everyone else is doing. So they go, oh, I don't have to put coffee down. It's already been captured. Take advantage of these online tools because that's the kind of stuff that will save you time. Don't ask if someone is available. Oh, man. For those of you that weren't around in, before the 80s and cell phones and stuff, there was a time where you picked up a phone not knowing whether the person was there or not and called them. And they might answer or they might not answer. And if they answered, that was great. Well, it's no different today. If I go, I'm going to open up my Gmail here real quick. If I'm using a chat or if I'm using WhatsApp or anything, I mean, it applies to all this stuff. Do you see this part here? It says active. That means that person is online. Okay. If it's a work thing, I work from 9 to 5, let's say. So when I'm in, my job is to answer phone calls, do emails, get work done, whatever it takes. If it's active, that means that he's not involved, that person's not involved in a meeting. So rather than saying, are you busy? It shows that you're there. I'm just going to call you. I'm not doing that back and forth stuff. Drives me up the wall, especially if I know that what I have to ask you and stuff is going to be more than two or three back and forths, right? Because there's a time where you got to say, all right, I'm not going back and forth asking one question, little answer, one question, little answer. This is going to take time. Let's get on and do a call, however that is. So the best, and this also applies for meeting invitations. Ideally, if we all work in the same place, I can go ahead and just invite you because I can do a busy search and see if you're available. But if not, I'm just going to send you an invite. You're either going to say yes or no. If you say yes, that's great. If you say no, we can worry about how to address that. There are also other tools out there, and if anyone wants, we can chat about that in the Padlet. But just send it out there. The worst they can do is say no and offer an alternative of when they're available. Forms is another thing for collecting information. Do I have time for this? Yeah, we'll make time. So, for example, there is a person here that coordinates these dinners, and there's usually about 50 or 60 people that go to these dinners. So each person has to send by email what starter they want, what meal choice they want, what dessert they want. So imagine that, 60 emails coming in, and you got to now slap them all and get them organized ahead of time so you can let the restaurant know, I'm going to need 30 clams and I'm going to need X number of these. That's a lot of time, copy, paste, moving things around. And sometimes someone's going to forget, right? Oh, I didn't put in the dinner. Now you have to call them back and, hey, I need your dinner. And oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. Here, a form is great because all the questions are there. And notice I have the questions starred, which means you have to answer this. You got to give me a starter. You got to give me a meal choice. So you're collecting data and indicating what is essential, what is not. When that data comes in, look at this. It comes in to a spreadsheet. Actually, in Google Forms, there's actually, if you go to the edit version, you can get charts and stuff like that. But I like spreadsheets this way, and I'll show you why in a second. There's all the raw data. So I can quickly go in here. I can use sorting tools. I can do whatever I want. But using one or two little pieces of code that are not complicated at all, look what I've got here. As stuff changes here and gets updated and added, these automatically change. So 2 days before, I can just take a screenshot of this, send it to the restaurant and say, I'm going to need 2 devil spices. I'm going to need 2 squids. I'm going to need 1 of these, et cetera, et cetera. So my point is, get away from using email as a collection tool. Email or WhatsApp and that. Look at all these other tools that stop you from doing copy, paste, copy, paste. Let's see. Any questions on anything so far? No? How am I doing? Still too fast? Good timing? Okay. Excellent. We have about 40 minutes left. Okay. Chrome browsers. Life's going to get exciting now, guys. Chrome browsers. Important, start that again. Important note, most of the Chrome browsers are based on, most of the browsers are based on Chrome. They might have different cover on top, different lipstick. It's still Chrome underneath. So Firefox, Microsoft Edge, all the big ones, not Safari, but they're all used, excuse me, try that again. They're all using Chrome underneath. So a lot of these things that we're talking about will apply to Firefox and Microsoft Edge as well. The first thing I want to talk about is profiles. Woohoo, profiles is so good. So these are Chrome profiles. So when you're working in Google land, let's say that I've got a personal Gmail account and the organization I work with has a Google account. So I've got a personal and a work account. I want to keep stuff separate. I want to keep my bookmark separate, my email separate. You want to keep that all separate because at some point in time, you're going to leave that company. You don't want to spend all this time trying to, copy contacts over and stuff like that. That should have been in your personal. And as part of that, it's obviously important to tell people, like, if you have to send me a joke, send it to my personal email account. Don't send it to my work account. So let's take a look. Oh, sorry about that. So let's take a look here. Normally what would happen is you would go under this piece here where it says add a different account. That only changes this section here. That does not change this part up here where we have all the bookmarks. We want to actually create a different instance for these things here. So we do that up here in Chrome. And in Chrome, you can basically have all these different logins available to you for each different account. So I'm going to start off here. I'm just going to show you right now I'm logged in as Jazz. I'm going to bring up Clark Kent. So there's my buddy Clark Kent. Notice Clark has a different color browser, right? This is orange, red means Jazz. Red is Clark because he's Superman. And look at the bookmarks. They're all different. Different. And when I look at email as well, you're going to see that that's different as well. So with these profiles, you can keep everything separate. And it's a great way for me. As I was doing a lot of web development, I needed to sign in as different people all the time to see what it looked like. This was a great way. And here are all the different profiles I have access to. It's the same thing as over here. I can quickly go through and add them in. To add a new profile, I'm just going to go here and add a Chrome profile. I'm going to sign in. And I'm going to use Barney here. Barney Rubble and so I'm logging into a different Google account. Now, all the stuff when you're working with Google is stored in the cloud. So when you come here and Google says, do you want me to pull everything that's in the cloud? It's like, yeah, good. So watch this. Boom, boom, boom. It's going through, changes the color. I got a whole bunch of different bookmarks and stuff. I am now logged in as Barney, checking Barney's email, checking his websites, all that stuff. Profiles is such a powerful tool to keep all that stuff separate. And there's a great video down there. If you read that, it'll go through more of it. It'll allow you to go and just clean your life up. Reopen closed tabs. How many of you have ever done this? You have this and you go, I'm cleaning stuff up. I'm going to close that. I'm going to close that. I'm going to close that. Whoa, wait a second. I wanted that other tab. I didn't want to close that tab. On a Mac, Command Shift T. On a Windows, Control Shift T brings back the last tab you opened. In fact, if you keep doing it, it brings back all the tabs. So you can go back 100 tabs. It'll just open them up in the order that you closed them. And we're all I'm very bad for having lots of windows with lots of tabs. And by lots of windows, there are times where I'll have 10 to 15 windows, and each of those windows will have anywhere between 5 and 30 tabs open. So, closing those things stuff, I tend to start going close, and then go, whoops. So that's closing our tabs here. We can also search those tabs. So remember, I had all those windows and stuff. Somewhere I have the tab open for dinner. So up in the top right-hand corner is this drop-down arrow. It'll search for all the tabs open in that profile. So this is Jazz's profile. It's not going to search the window that has Clark Kent stuff. But I can go into here, search for dinner. It says, oh, there's one that is open right now. There's a tab that was open before. Which one do you want? I'll highlight this one, and I jump right there, and there's the tab I have. I use that all the time. It's great. What do we got for time? We have 35 minutes. I'm going to do this because I'm sure we've all run into it. I wasn't going to, but in those 30 tabs, I assume you guys can hear. Can you guys hear that music? Kind of? Cool. I'll stop them for a second. So when I open up my browser and I have all those windows and tabs open, I often will have a video running in the background, if not 5 videos. I just leave them there because I'll get to them eventually. So all of a sudden you're sitting there like, oh my God, where's the music coming from? I need to stop it, and you have to search for it. Well, the nice thing is whenever audio starts to play, you'll see this player icon up in the top here. If I do this, does it zoom in for you guys? Does this zoom in? Nope. No, okay, that's just on my screen. Up in the top right-hand corner is a controller. So if the music's playing here in the background, I can go up here and pause it. And then if I need to, let's say there's 5 videos. If I click on here, it'll take me right to the video. So that's great. That stops stuff down, or that allows you to stop playing, allows you to watch a video. Now, we're all familiar, well, sorry, we're not all familiar. We're probably familiar if you go to the CC here on YouTube and click on that. Come on, give it to me. Give me my closed captions, settings, annotation, subtitles. Here we go. I can do English generated, or you should be able to, under options, be able to change to a different language. It might not work, but that only applies for YouTube videos. Up here in this player works for anything in the Chrome. So that could be, YouTube or the Vimeo, sorry, or any YouTube player, any audio, excuse me, it will control. Watch this. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to turn on live captions. Now, this is not the same as within YouTube. And I'm going to do Portuguese. There we go. So he's singing in English, but the live captions that Chrome does is actually translating it into Portuguese. Now, how accurate it is, I don't know. But you can now look at other people's videos, regardless where they're stored, and you can take advantage of these tools here to have the captioning in a different language. How are we doing on the cool factor there? Everyone like that one? I like it. Not necessarily the song, but anyways. Copy link to highlight is a function that is so buried and is so cool. Let's say that I've got a web page and there's a paragraph on that web page, and I want you to read the web page or that paragraph. Normally, we would have to say, "Hey, Bob, go to paragraph or go to web page A, scroll down and search for and find this paragraph that's in there." Well, now watch what happens here. I'm going to do this. It actually goes to the web page, scrolls down, and there's the text that I have highlighted. So You can do this yourself. If you want to click on that link here where it says sample and open it up, I'm going to scroll down a little further. You can do it on any web page, but I'm going to take this paragraph on Madeira Airport and I'm going to right click on it. And it says copy link to highlight, not copy link to highlight. So it's going to generate a link. So I'll show you what it looks like. Usually it can be a really long link, but it's here's the web page, and then here's the text is Madeira Airport often blah blah blah. So it knows how to what text to select. So now when I hit enter, there it is, just right to that part of the page. So I could create a Google Doc, put in a bunch of links there for information. So let's say someone's coming to Madeira. Hey, I want to give you the link on the airport. I want to give you a link to this. I want to give you a link to that. Not just the web page, but a specific part on some web page. And it'll go right into there. That's a very cool resource. Got 30 minutes left. Okay, we're doing good. Sure, we'll do this real quick. If you're not familiar with it yet, put your cursor up here. You'll see this little thing here. This is Google Lens. You can search your page with Google Lens. So for example, I'm just going to highlight this graphic here. Come on. There we are. And it's going to do a lookup and it's going to say, hey, I think this is Funchal City Hall and there's some information about it. So explore Google Lens. There's all sorts of, it's more than just graphics. It does text as well, but just so you're aware of it, start exploring the Google Lens because it's in there, a lot easier to do lookups and find stuff. All right. I'm going to do one more thing and then we're going to just take a quick couple-minute break because I think just to stop your heads from exploding. Chrome custom search engines is so cool. Basically, you probably have websites you go visit all the time. So you have to open up the website, go search the website, find your search results, open up another tab, go to the site, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you can actually go directly and skip all that stuff and just get the search results. So let me just show you an example first. Open up a new tab. I'm typing in RTP. RTP is a local media website. And I hit tab. Whoops, sorry, I have to switch to Clark for this one. RTP. And I'm going to search for seal. So what this is going to do is it's going to go to the RTP website. It's going to go get the search. It's going to submit seal. And then I'm going to just see the results. So it's not actually a script, but those are all the steps that get accomplished during this. And there we are. You know what? I use Madeira Weekly a lot. I'm going to go into there and I'm going to see what they have for seals. And there's the seals there. So how do we do this? First of all, and you guys can follow along and do this if you want. Let's go to cbc.ca. So CBC is a media company in Canada, where I'm from. And it was just an easy site to grab. And I'm going to hit the search function. And I'm going to type in seal. So this function that we're talking about can be done anywhere there's a website that has a search. And you'll see it says Q equals seal. That usually means the query. What is it you're searching for? That's the important part of this recipe. So I'm going to copy this URL here. Come on. I'm going to try and copy. There we are. And I'm going to go over to my 3 dots here, and I go into settings. And you'll see something on the left here called search engine. So by default, I have Google as a search engine. That's fine. And you can change it to whatever you want. But look underneath here, it says manage search engines and site search. And I kick that open. There's all these other search engines that are available from Google, but you can add your own. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to click on add. First thing it says is name. So what's the little label that pops up when I do my typing? Well, I'm going to do CBC, and I'm going to put in 3 exclamation marks. It's just a label so I know what I'm searching. My shortcut, what is the text that I'm going to type in and then hit tab? It's got to be one word. It can't be 2 words. So in this case, CBC makes sense. And then paste in that URL. Here's the important part of the gravy. URL with the %s, which is the query, or replace the %s where the query was. So here's seal, that's my query. I'll go in there, I'm going to put in %s. And then I'm going to add this. Now, if I've done this right, I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to hit CBC and then hit tab. There it is, CBC search. I'm going to search for a seal again. And there's the seal. So think of all the things that have search engines, that websites that you use all the time. Ooh, I need headphones. I'm going to go to Amazon, Germany this time, and I look for headphones. There's some headphones. Oh, I wonder if they're cheaper in Canada. So I'll do Amazon.ca. Whoop, I didn't hit tab. That's why it didn't work. Amazon.ca tab. Look for headphones. And I'm also going to go to, I mentioned Mandira midweek, so that was in week. And there won't be headphones there, but there might be seals. So see how quickly you can now go to your different websites and search them. So we're constantly have websites that are references that we use all the time. Those are the sites that we want to search. Okay, I'm going to take a brief pause there. And by pause, meaning that I'm just going to have a drink of water and then see if I can answer any questions if we got so far. And then I'm still on time to finish up at 11:30. We might have to cut some stuff short, but any questions, if you want to throw it into the text there, or if it's a long one, if you want to put your hand up, and then our admin person will. Just out of curiosity, is anyone using the Microsoft Translator text window as I'm speaking? Okay, you're welcome, Bahadir, and you're welcome, Tudora. Tanya, yeah, you know, that's the best part of all that for me, that I love doing this. I love doing this in person, because when I do this and seeing people's expressions and stuff, I remember doing one about how to translate Google Documents, and Anastasia was in the back and I heard her go, "What?" It was quite funny. Anna uses Google Lens a lot. Excellent. Or Ariana, oh, excellent. I'm glad to see it's working. And as I mentioned, I've used this Microsoft Translator. I go to conferences that are in Portuguese, and I can follow along pretty good. There's even a component of it on the mobile device. I think it's also on here. You can actually turn on and have it speak to you. I find that hard when I'm in the room with somebody and I'm trying to listen. Though I guess if I put headphones on and I can't hear them, then just listen to the audio, that would work. Something to think about. Okay. No questions. Does the search engine apply to YouTube, Spotify? The search function will apply to anything that doesn't require a login. Okay, if it's publicly available, you're golden. So as long as the site does a search, there are new technologies coming out, like Flash used to be one at some point. I can't say that it works for everything, but the important part is look in the URL to see if it works. Oh, and I forgot the most important one. What sites are we always on? Google Drive. I need to find a file in Google Drive. I better look for the kitty file, because somewhere I've got a file with kitties in it. There's my files there. Oh, you know what? I've got, and for the work that I was at, I had access to like tens of thousands of documents. You think I'm going to go looking for that kind of stuff? No. And the other thing is I can also do a search using the queries from Google Drive. So if you haven't used Google Drive search, up at the top here, you can go and say, you know what, I only want PDFs. I want this, whatever you choose here to filter it out. So sometimes I only want kitty in PDFs, or I know it's an Excel document or something like that. There's no PDFs, but look at the URL. Here it says type equals PDF. Well, type can also be spreadsheet, type can also be doc, whatever. So I also have search functions that just search for Google Sheets and only give me back Google Sheets and all the kitty stuff that's just Google Sheets. So yeah, and it works in OneDrive and SharePoint and stuff like that. If you're on the browser, works on there as well. So really, really awesome tool for those day-to-day stuff. Okay, that was that question. All right, let's move on. Let me see where I was at. Just give me a sec here. Where's my screen? We did that. We did that. Specialized tools. All right. We go to websites all the time. And in the morning, I used to spend like 2 hours trying to get up to date by jumping to all these different websites. There is something called a newsfeed reader. A newsfeed reader basically says, hey, this website is broadcasting every time news comes out. I'm going to collect that information in one location and you get to look at it. So in the morning or whenever I go, I only have to go to one location to see all the news that's available to me. So feedly.com is where you would go. I'm just going to quickly pop into this. And basically, once you log in, you click where it says follow sources and you add a web page. So here I've got the sections broken down. I've got Canadian news and Madeira news. Now I reset everything last night. So since last night, there have been 10 new articles coming from these 3 different sources. If I click all, I'm going to see all the stuff that has been updated. There's my latest, and there's all the different websites. So I can, oh no, Pope Francis has died. Oh my gosh, that, I am so sorry. This was not supposed to be what I was showing you guys. But I can go to Madeira News here and just focus on the news stuff here from Madeira. Even that has it there. What's nice about this is it gives me a little overview. And actually, let me just go to weekly here just to make life easier. No, nothing new. Okay. I can click on the link here. It's either going to display that information within the page or it's going to just open up the window. So I can just search, read it, and then close it. But I don't have to go to all these websites. I can just quickly scan, see all the information right there. So if you do a lot of searching in the morning, whether it's news items, whether it's your competitors' websites or whatever, and a lot of these websites have the ability to grab the news or even other features like changes and stuff. So take a look at that. I listed the 2 ones that I've used, Feedly and InfoReader. A cool thing is Custom iPod or Custom Pod is a service that, let's say I take these Madeira news guys, I add them all in, it will go and get those same news items and use artificial intelligence to go through, combine them together and make me a podcast. So in the morning I wake up, I generate that, and then I can listen to it as I'm out walking or driving to work or whatever you happen to be doing. So it just saves you from reading. You get to listen to it instead. You get the first podcast for free. If you want more than one, you have to pay for it. But it's not out, you know, if I was still working, I'd be paying for that, not a problem, because that's the kind of news I'm always on. Google Alerts. What happens when something, or I want to be notified when something happens in the world. So you basically, what this does is anytime Google indexes something in their search engine, if it matches what you've requested, it will send you an email saying, hey, an article showed up talking about X, Y, and Z. So for example, I'm just going to type in my name because of course we all want to be notified whenever our name gets mentioned, right? So here it says, hey, there's nothing recently, but just so you can see what kind of stuff is showing up. Well, there's Trevor Beck Frost, Trevor Beck buys property. That's not me. Hay River Métis, that's Canada, but it's somebody else. So there's all these different Trevor Becks. I'm gonna make it a little bit more pointed, and I'm gonna put in and Madeira. Quotations means catch it as a phrase. The word and in all caps, Google recognized means it has to have both of them. Still nothing really new, but we can see some stuff that I've done before. The Savoy residents, I posted something in the Meduan news. There's some other stuff in here. I've done some videos and stuff that have gotten posted in there. So anytime something new comes in, I'm going to get notified. Once a day or as it happens, I can set different things up. Automatic sources, I can say I just want English. I can pick a specific region. So maybe I don't want those ones for North America. So maybe I would switch this for Portugal. And then it gets delivered to the email address. So think of what you can do for this with this tool, not only for yourself and, you know, whenever your families are mentioned, But what about something like when your competitor's mentioned somewhere, or your nonprofit is mentioned? You don't have to keep scanning everywhere. You're going to get notified when it shows up. When I worked at a university, we had a couple of scares there. So what I actually set up was an alert that looked at keywords that something like a gunman, knife, stab, whatever, and the name of the university. So that it turns out there was one guy showed up with a knife, was making some threats. I mean, he got taken down quite quickly, but he had posted stuff ahead of time. So we created an alert so that if I found something or if Google found something somewhere publicly, then we would get an alert that someone was talking about this. So just to keep an eye on stuff. But you can use it for all sorts of use cases. It's such a great, helpful tool. Yes, remember our audit, your NGO exercise. Okay. I wasn't there for that. I would have been. So that's Google Alerts. Programmable search engine. Ooh, think of Google doing what you ask it to do for only the websites you want it to search. Okay, so I'm going to just give you an example here. Let me just give me a sec, see if I got it in the right place. And so let me go back to let's do it from here. So here's an example. When I was doing my training, we focused a lot on Microsoft, Google, Apple, WebEx, and a few other things. So if I go in and just do a general search, shared folder, and again, I'll put it in all caps so I can get it as a phrase, I'm going to get a bunch of ads, to be for sure. But there's Google, great. There's Microsoft, yeah. Synology, what? No, I don't need that. Litmus, don't need it. Apple, yeah. Reddit, don't need it. Superuse, no. So there's a bunch of stuff that I don't need. I want to have the stuff that I'm working in. So let me try this again in this search engine. Share, what is it? Share folder, yeah. There I have results specifically from websites that I've chosen. That's the only ones that are showing up here. And because there's a mix of Microsoft and Google, when I look through here, you're going to find everything from Google to Microsoft to Apple. I can create filters to say, just show me the Microsoft resources, just show me the Google resources, just show me the Apple resources. I'm not going to go in because we're getting kind of short on time, but if you go to programmable searches, which is the name of the site here, it's really fairly easy to go through here. So you create your first engine, you add the sources that you want, and that's your search engine. The best thing about that is you can use that resource and hand it to anybody, right? So if you've got a team and you're constantly using the same resources, you can create a search engine so you're all working on the same place. So it's great for that. Teachers use it for their students because they say that I only want you to search these 5 websites. They use that a lot. There's an example from Madeira News, and there's a video tutorial that goes into more detail of how you can do it. Okay. Oh, and the other cool thing is that same thing. I can also use that with, remember our shortcuts up here? I can use it here as well. So I created one called Mad News. I hit tab. I search for the seal again. Instead of doing one website as that customized search engine, it's using this one that I just created. And there's all my Madeira News stuff. I hope that one makes sense. Propaganda, website shortcuts. This is cool, but I'm not going to have time for that. Rehearse with your slideshow with your coach. I want to show you just because it's important. For those of you that do presentations and you hate sitting there and, get feedback from your sister or your wife or someone, you hate to do that. The free versions, at least the ones that I have access to, I don't know if it's different between countries and that, but if I go under slideshow in PowerPoint, so you can sign up for Microsoft, a Microsoft account, you get free access to their online versions of slides PowerPoint and that. But within that slideshow, they have Rehearse with Coach. This is great if you're going to be giving a speech or a lecture, because what it does is it uses artificial intelligence, and as you're talking, it will start feedback. Oh crap, that's not really good. Damn, I hate to do this. Oh, shoot. Well, okay, I gotta stop swearing. I gotta stop swearing. I'm not gonna go along and see what else I can do. As you can see, what it's doing is that it is going to go through and it gives you feedback. So it tells me I did 2 slides and whatever. My pace was pretty good. It tells me, oh, you're doing ums a lot. So it gives me that feedback. And, you know, anything here, it says you're not repeating, you're not reading the words on the slide. Don't use profanity, don't do other terms. So you get this whole thing and you can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. That way, it's a great tool for you to get better and better without having to involve anybody else. I always record myself and watch myself backwards because I also like to see how I'm moving my hands and stuff. It actually will also give you feedback on your body movement. So if you end up talking a lot like this, it'll let you know. Oh, Google Translate. Google Translate, Google DeepL. We're all familiar with, you know, using your phone, holding it up and stuff like that. Both of these services will translate full-on documents. So what you do, there's documents, you upload the document. When you're done, you take your original document here, it downloads another copy of it in English, translated. Great tool for quick translation, and then you get to keep that PDF as a PDF. When I first moved here, well, still, I get documents all the time. I don't know what they say. I can do Google Translate and leave it in Google Drive or whatever. Microsoft Translator is the tool that we've been using. It is an app that you have to load up on your mobile device. And it basically, you launch it, and it will go through, and as it translates, it gives you a website, just like the one that you guys have been working on, and it will automatically translate to whatever the person's saying into the language that the visitor selects. So as I mentioned before, there's about 100 seats available on this free service, and everyone can pick whatever language they want. So this is kind of nice if you're in a group that, you know, someone may not be able to keep up with the things, they can go ahead and do and use that tool. And like I said, I've been using it for the last 6 months, all these different conferences I've been going to. It's worked really well. Okay, I have 10 minutes left. Any questions on anything that we have looked at before I get into NotebookLM? Going once. Okay, we're going on. Quick water break. There are all sorts of different AI out there. There's ChatGPT, there's Google Gemini, there's a whole whack of stuff. NotebookLM was developed for students to begin with. You basically take a whole bunch of sources, whether it's PDFs, Google Docs, YouTube videos, whatever. You put them in and you say, these are all of my resources, and now I'm going to start creating documents. And you can create things like an overview. Give me an overview of all the information that was covered in this. So, you know, when you're doing your research and you like copy and paste elements from different web pages and you throw them into a long Google Doc, then eventually you got to try and organize it. This is what NotebookLM can do for you. It can help with that. So it can generate overviews. You're doing tests, take all that information you're being tested on, throw it in there. It'll create frequently asked questions and study guides. So here's a question, here's an answer, here's a question, here's an answer. And you can do that with up to 50 different sources. So let me show you an example of what's available. I'm going to start off with something really easy, flying a drone in Portugal. So what happens is you start off, you add sources, you have a chat function to ask questions, and then you have what they call is the studio, which is where all the answers are. So what I did is I went to, there's a PDF that is strictly in Portuguese. There are all these websites that are strictly in Portuguese. And I've gone in and I've said, hey, here are some questions that I have about it. So I start off here, there's a chat here. I'm going to start off and say, can I fly at night? And it's going to look at all those resources and it's going to give you an answer. Yes, you can. And what it does, these 1s, 2s, and 3s are references or footnotes to the actual original file or web page. Okay. you can go in and you can create a study guide. So I need to study about flying. So I go in here, I'll create this study guide. It's going through, looking at all of my resources and stuff, and it's going to create, give me this document that's going to help me for studying. Now it's in the middle of doing stuff, so we'll come back to it in a bit. But here's here's a quiz that I've created. True or false? According to Portuguese laws, you need to authorize from blah, blah, blah. The answers are down there. So you've got a way of helping yourself learn stuff. But it's not only for that. It's good for creating other things. So let me show you the way I like to use it. I take meeting minutes and I'll throw it into here. So this is just 1 minute, but I have a board that I'm on, and every time we have a minute for the last 2 years, I've thrown everything in there. So now you can ask questions of everything that's in there. So I'm going to type in a question and say, who's bringing pizza? Bringing pizza. Now this could be looking back 5 years or 2 years, whatever the whole thing is. But Jazz said she's responsible for bringing pizzas. You know what? I want to get a list, provide a list of all tasks and who's being assigned. Add any deadlines if available. Adding and renting a bus, there's Trevor. Getting the pizza, it's implicitly assigned to Trevor. Picking up the pizza, so I'm assigned to it, but Jazz is going to pick it up. We're going to do bottle collections, and someone's going to go pick up. Oh, Cheryl's picking up Michael Bublé on July 1st. How cool is that? I did one where we had 2 years of meetings, and I thought, what tasks got lost? What tasks haven't been done? So I put in a thing, said, give me a list of tasks organized by date that have not been completed. There was like 10 tasks that got dropped off somewhere. So that's really cool that you can go in and now take these meetings and all this stuff and work it. And what's really nice is that they've now opened this up to available for sharing, so that if it's you and 3 or 4 other people responsible for the minutes, you can go and quickly do all that. One other thing that I've done, we started doing recently, is we have a newsletter. So you can, when you get the information here, one of the things that you can create besides FAQs and a timeline, actually let's do the timeline, that'll be kind of fun. So it's going to generate a timeline, which should be similar on this document here. But you can do an audio overview. Basically, it goes through and creates this podcast. It's now available in Gemini. Yeah, in Google Gemini, it's available there as well, but it started here. And so here's what's going to happen.
So thinking about flying a drone in Portugal, huh?
It's a fantastic place to do it. So many incredible landscapes.
Yeah. We're diving deep
Are you
into some
guys hearing
official
this?
sources here to make sure you can do
Okay.
it safely and legally.
So it's going through, it's created a 16-minute podcast that I can listen to talking about the drone laws. It's got 2 people there speaking. And if you listen to them, you would swear they were real people, because they do ums and ahs and they interrupt and talk over each other every once in a while. But it is really cool. There's a beta mode here that you can let it run. And then as it's talking, let's say it talks about flying at night, I can actually interrupt and say, hey, what color light do I need to put on my drone? And then it'll go, oh, we got a question here from Trevor, just like in a news podcast or anywhere else. And it'll answer the question there. You can give that overview a guide of, here's information, do me a podcast, but really focus on whether or not I can fly over crowds. So you can give it some direction on how it creates that. And as I mentioned, we have a newsletter that we put out. I upload the newsletter there and I generate an overview, because I have some people that prefer just to listen to the highlights of the newsletter rather than go through it all. And that's turning out, especially with people who have visual disability, they actually quite like that. So I have 3 minutes left. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get to everything because I will just rot your brains and we just don't have enough time. But play around with Notebook LM. Do some Googling, see what people are doing with it because it's always very cool. Preparing for a job interview. The transcripts for the meetings is helpful, but anytime you have to create a document, throw everything in one location and start working with that document. Quick note about ChatGPT and all the AIs that are out there. They do make mistakes. Do not count on everything that comes through. The other day, today's what, the 21st? On April 19th, I asked the question of ChatGPT, how many days has Trump been president this year? And I was told he is not president in 2025, that Joe Biden is the current president of the United States. So what happened? When you use ChatGPT, there's a time limit that they have scanned data. I actually have to go down and click on a button that says search the web. This news is like almost 4 months old. Why would I have to go down and say search the web for other stuff? So you have to be careful with these tools. And that's why when you've got these other things that we've looked at, the way to search the customized search engines, your Chrome custom search engines, all that stuff, the alerts, you don't have to depend on ChatGPT, which you shouldn't, but you can go and cross research all that information. Yeah, geez, I really had a cool thing to show you on using ChatGPT and Gemini, but we're just not going to have time. Okay, it's 11:29. I'm going to stick around. So if you have questions and, once we end the recording, we can just turn on everyone's mic. So if you have questions, otherwise that Padlet's there. I'm going to be checking it for, the next 2 weeks. I have no problem organizing. And like I said, and doing another chat and do a show and tell with ChatGPT later on, if that's what you guys want. But just, make use of those tools and contact me. Anastasia, anything you want to say before we finish in 30 seconds?
Of course. I wanted to say a huge thank you, Trevor, for guiding us through all these links and the cool technology that exists there. From our personal example, we use it, we like it, it boosts our professionalism, and I totally recommend to everybody else to use it too. Will we have this presentation with the links to share?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can send it to you.
Perfect.
Well, yeah.
Then we will share it with everybody else, and people can reach out to you and post questions in Padlet during next 2 weeks, and to ask to hold their hand while they go through this very challenging but exciting process, right?
Right, and for those of you, remember, make use of that screen recorder. It'll make your life a lot easier than trying to type out everything.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been amazing, and we continue offline with all of you during next 2 weeks.